What's up, everybody? My name is Dell. This is Dell on Movies. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you've been here before, thanks for hanging out with me again. And tonight we have another exciting episode of Movie Swap Plan. This is episode number 49. Tonight's guest is someone whose channel I discovered a few months back. And I've been watching him a lot ever since. And I'm talking about the one and only Zach of Zach Attack Reviews. How's it going, Zach?
I'm doing great, man. I've been looking forward to this for like since you asked me. I've been looking forward to doing this, so I'm excited.
I'm glad, and we got some movies that are the polar opposite at the end of the day. So we'll get into that a little bit later, though. Um, so my first, you just hit what 4,000 subscribers recently?
Oh no! I'm
No,
glad that you think that I'm that high. I am at currently. I think I'm at like 933. So yeah,
900, 900. It
yeah,
was somebody who watches just or somebody else's that just hit 4,000. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, 933. So closer to 1,000. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you are watching right now and you're not subscribed to Zach, go check his channel out.
Appreciate
Kick the
that.
tires on it, see if you like it, and then subscribe to him. Get him up there to 1,000 subscribers. And if you're not subscribed to me, do the same. I say that because I don't like to just say automatically subscribe because you subscribe and then you don't watch it. That's not doing either of us any good. So yeah, go check out Zach's channel. It is a fun channel. Lots of live streams. Lots of live streams. How you go 2-3 times a week? It seems like.
I was doing once a week. I started getting into twice a week. I might have to slow down on that. These things are tiring, man.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, not like me. You put a lot of effort into your into your production on your live streams.
Don't say that. He said not like me. I
and
try. I
my
try.
yeah, my view is that they understand that I'm kind of self-deprecating sometimes, but I do mean that though. You do put a lot of production time into it. Like I was watching last night. I really loved the transitions you go between from section to section to section on your stream. So I really enjoy those.
Thank you.
All right, no. So trailer talk has been really hot lately.
Yeah.
So I watched your Joker 2 trailer reaction. Um,
Yeah.
just for people who didn't get a chance to see that, how after seeing the trailer, how we feeling about the prospects of Joker 2?
So before the trailer, I was like, why do we need this movie? Right. It's like Joker was a great movie. I don't think it needed to continue. We might ruin the first movie if we continue into the second one. And then Lady Gaga got added, and then they said it was a musical. I was like, oh God, maybe y'all trying to do too much. Then the trailer happens. I sit there for those 2 minutes, and I was like, put it in my veins now. Give it to me now. Release this shit in IMAX. I want it. It got me so excited because things that get me excited are different from other people. So like they said something about how like music helps the fractured, and my mind kind of like just opened up about like, oh, maybe he gets musical therapy, and then he goes crazy because he starts using music in it. And I was like, I'm really excited to see what they use and how the chemistry between Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix is in this film.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm very curious because Lady Gaga and everything I've seen her in, she's been good,
Yeah.
but she feels like a she needs a particular type of role,
Hmm.
and I think this seems to fit at least from the trailer that I saw.
Yeah.
But if you just compare side by side, just the character itself on his face, because obviously we haven't seen what she's done with it yet, but
Yeah.
Harley Quinn, and you compare that with her character in A Star Is Born, there are a lot of similarities. I don't know
Hmm.
if you have you seen A Star Is Born?
I haven't. I've only seen like clips, but I haven't seen the full movie.
Okay, um, it's basically a woman who is she's not really sure of herself, and she's kind of broken and looking for a path to go, and kind of meets up with Bradley Cooper's
Mm,
character, and then the rest happens. And
does sound similar.
yeah, there's some real similarities there between that and this character and Harley Quinn, and even in House of Gucci. I don't know if you saw that one either.
No, I
Um,
haven't. I heard so much
yeah,
bad things about it. I avoided it.
it's a it's a soap opera trash is what it is.
Mm,
So
okay.
if you're in the mood for like just real like soap opera stuff, that's what it is. Um, So I had fun with it in that vein. I recognize it's not really a great movie, but her
Mm.
performance was good. And but this is almost the same kind of thing. It's just that in that movie, she ends up being a domineering person by the end of it.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the same at the beginning, it's the same kind of thing. Kind of,
So she has a similar core in everything she does, but maybe it's
yeah,
like an added flavor to make the character a little different.
yeah. That was a great way to explain it. Um, Another trailer hit recently that everybody went crazy over, yourself included, Maxine.
Oh
Are you a
yeah.
big fan of X and Pearl?
I like Pearl. I mean, I like X. I'm not super big on it like a lot of people are who are like, oh, it's so great. I think it's a good movie. Pearl, I absolutely loved, and I thought it was fantastic. And I thought that Mia Goth deserved a nomination for what she did in that film. So I'm excited to see what he does with this. In terms of it being a trilogy or maybe a quadrilogy, because they kind of said that they might make a fourth movie after this. I'm excited to see how they tie all the stuff together and make all this make sense why we need to be in this universe. But the trailer was just really exciting.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both X and Pearl, and that's saying a lot for me because I don't like anything else Ty West has done.
Okay.
I hated House of the Devil. I hated The Innkeepers even more. And I saw him. He had a part in was it ABCs of Death? I think he had a segment in. I didn't like his segment. So nothing about what he's done before X just clicked with me. And but I everybody started talking about how great X was when it came out, and I had nothing to do one night, and then I was like, hey, you know what? Let's go see X. Went and
Mm.
saw it, loved it, and loved Pearl. So now I'm really excited for this one.
And sometimes it shows that certain directors and creatives just need to go through growing pains. You know, like he finally kind of found his footing with this style of film.
Mhm.
And I've heard similar things about his past movies too. I haven't. This X was my first time being experienced his directing, but I've heard like I was like, oh, let me go back and see what else he does, and I heard that like, oh, his other stuff is not that great. So
Mhm.
maybe it just took him some time.
Yeah, and I do know a lot of people love House of the Devil,
Mm,
but it just wasn't for me. But but
gotcha.
I would say check it out if you just want curious about what he did before hitting it big, so to speak. I guess. So, all right, let's see who is out here in the chat. We got a few people out here, and the first person, this is I am 24P, and I purposely went to this before I asked my next question. It says, have you never seen Edge of Tomorrow? And you have a watch along for Edge of Tomorrow coming up. So yeah, that is a great question. Have you seen it before, or will this be a first time deal?
So my first time watching it was actually last year. I did I do Throwback Thursdays on my channel. I haven't done one in a while, but last year I was doing them every week, and it won the poll. I did it. I loved it, and this is the 10-year anniversary this year. So I wanted to do a watch along for it. Well, I did a poll and it won again. So people love Edge Tomorrow keeps winning all these polls. So I decided I'm going to do a watch along of it. And there's a lot of people that are subscribed to me that have never seen the movie. So that's going to be fun.
Now, that brings me to the next point. It's a lot of people that subscribe to you have never seen it. Would you recommend them watching it with you on that watch along for the first time?
I think that's a type of movie that's fun to watch with people.
Mm,
I really wish I saw it in the theaters with a group instead of just watching it at home on my phone. I think it's visually really great. It still holds up after 10 years. I think the way the story's put together, you can have a lot of fun and chatter with people. So I do think it's going to be a fun time watching it with a bunch of people. Well, no, I mean, not to act like I have a lot of people in my live stream, but
right,
with a group of
right,
people in a watch along.
right. So I, man, on your phone, wow, because
Yeah, I
I
know.
saw it on a, I didn't see it in the theater either, but I saw it on my TV, and yeah, I had a blast watching it. Now you said after 10 years visually it holds up. First off, I forgot that it's been around that long. 10 years is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but second, so in your opinion, have visuals really come that far in 10 years? And I say that because I know technology is advancing. I get that,
Hmm.
but with the amount of movies that come out every year that people hate the CGI on, so that's why
Hmm.
that's where I'm coming from with that question. So in your
Gotcha.
opinion, where do you fall on that?
I think that it's just companies rushing. I think that we do have better visuals when you look at something like The Creator, and how great that movie looks on such a small budget. like other movies, like maybe like Thor: Love and Thunder, and even like Ant Man, Quantumania. They're in like a flipping, I don't know what they were doing with those films in terms of just rushing them out and not caring about the craft in terms of the VFX and CGI. But I think there are some sci-fi films that's come out in the last couple of years that look really, really great and look maybe better than Edge of Tomorrow does. But Edge of Tomorrow still looks fantastic for how old it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Marvel because they're like the biggest culprits, and I think for the reason that you said, they're rushing everything. You got to get two, three, four Marvel movies in a year, but now here we are this year. We have the one really, Madam, not counting Madam Web, which was a Sony property,
And Craven and Venom.
right? And Craven. So with Deadpool and Wolverine being the only one, are you good with that? Because I know you're an MCU fan as well. Are you good with that being the one? And yeah, just let's start with that.
I like Deadpool movies and I like him as a character, but he's not like my favorite. So I wish it was a different. I wish it was Blade or something like that being the one. But for me, with the momentum the MCU has been having, which has been going down in terms of like fandom, I think this is the perfect one to be the one because it'll be fun. It won't have any messaging in it. It's just gonna be pure candy, R-rated fun with some multiverse stuff. Getting Deadpool to interact with the MCU is gonna be perfect. So I think this is the perfect movie to be the one to come out to get everybody back on a high for the MCU, and that's all I really care about because I've never been on a low. I've, for the most part, liked everything they've done after Phase 4 or after Phase 3 stopped, minus like 2 or 3 projects. But I
Mhm.
understand that a lot of people feel burnt out, or a couple projects they watch back to back weren't the greatest. So I think this break is needed, and I think Deadpool and Wolverine can be perfect way to get things back up.
Yeah, and I hear the term superhero fatigue a lot, and I'm like, it's really bad storytelling fatigue is what you're
Yeah.
tired of. When if they
Hmm.
make a good movie, you'll be fine. You'll be there. It doesn't matter if it's a superhero or not.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully we're gonna get back to that. All right. We got Collector Movie Man here. Says hello. What's up to both of us? What's going on? Steve Moody is here. Says hello, everyone. Corey is here from Wilkie's Movies and Music. He says, hey, all. Just had Corey on not long ago, last week, actually. And of course, he came back to say, what up? I am 24P. Tiana is here. Hey, Tiana. Tiana is a huge supporter of my channel and many others. So it's always a treat to see her here.
Nice.
And, well, people saying hi to Tiana, of course. Adrian James is here. What's going on, Adrian?
Adrian.
Adrian's another big supporter, also. Everybody in my chat, for the most part, are big supporters, which means that my audience is not growing. So grow me, tell your friends about me. But anyway, but I do love my audience because you guys are all rock solid, 100%
Yeah.
here for me. And even when you're just saying hey to each other, which is an awesome part of the chat.
Yeah. Build
Dave
a
Show is here. What's
community.
going on, Dave? He says, what's up, guys?
Hey.
And I'm kind of going through seeing if there's anyone else who has popped in or any relevant questions for you or for me. Mika is here. Says love the newest remake of A Star Is Born. Gaga did a great job. She did do a great job.
I didn't know it was a
So
remake.
it's the third remake, I think, of it.
Oh wow.
It's every 20, 30 years they make that movie, and it's literally called A Star Is Born.
That's
There
funny.
was one in the 50s, one in the I want to say there was
80s.
one in the 80s or might have been before the 50s, and then there was this one with Bradley Cooper.
Oh wow.
Bonnie is here. She says, "Hey," he says, "Hi." Mama Blu-ray is Bonnie,
Hello,
and
Mama.
Mama Blu-ray is fantastic supporter also. And check out her daughter's channel, Movies and Sue. So she's another great one. She had a great video today. I watched all the movies, her first time watch series. She watches all these movies that she's never seen before, and this time she was going through a lot of Best Picture nominees and winners. And so that was great fun. She got to see Citizen Kane for the first time,
Oh wow.
and even the movie that beat Citizen Kane, How Green Was Your Valley. I haven't seen that one. Have you seen Citizen Kane?
Nope, it's on my list. I haven't
Okay,
seen it yet.
okay. no shame there. I mean, it's an older movie, but I asked that because I'm always curious what people see it when they think about it when they finally see it.
Yeah, it's been so hyped. I hope that it's like at least good.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I know movies can be overhyped for you, and then when you watch it, it's like this is what everybody's all excited about.
Yeah.
Cece is here. Cece Clemens, Yak Attack in the
Hey,
house. Let's go. Had her on recently a few weeks back.
great episode.
So it was a great episode. Had a great time with her. Love the trailer for the new Joker film. Beautiful. Yeah, it was a really good trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm not a trailer guy, so I'll probably not watch. I know they're gonna come up with another trailer in a couple months, and
Yeah,
then a
another one.
final trailer, and I'll probably not watch those. This was fine enough for me.
Yeah.
There goes, hey Corey and twins. Yep, the trailer was great. So we're still talking about the Joker trailer and skipping around here. Here, Dell, you know we are huge Ty West fans. You know we love the Innkeepers. Yeah, we give each other a hard time about the Innkeepers because they actually love the Innkeepers. Her and her sister Mika, her, and Kira. Why did I say Mika? Sorry, Mika. Um, but I just can't stand that movie.
Wasn't for you.
It's the most boring thing committed to film, in my opinion. One of the
Oof.
most boring things, not maybe not the most boring thing. So I know they're cringing or writing a response. Cal is here. What's going on, Cal?
Some
Delvon and
random self.
Zachariah. Salute.
Oh my god. Always calling
No,
me
I
Zachariah.
yeah, I've already heard that your name is not Zachariah and my name is not Delvon. So he's just making
I
up
was
stuff for
wondering where
both
that
of us.
came from. I was like, who the heck is Delphon?
So he's making up stuff for both of us.
Yep. Delphon is hilarious.
Yeah. Holland is here. What's going on, Holland? And let's see if anybody else has popped in. Yep, Papa the Popcorn is here. I haven't seen her in a
Hey,
while.
kitty.
Says hey. From across the pond, as they say.
Yep, yep, yep.
All right. So everybody else is really just kind of saying hi back and forth. So let's go ahead and get to the reason why we're here. Oh, wait, I do have a comment from CC. She says, I like Deadpool, but I don't love it like most people do. I do believe it's much needed for the MCU right now.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
that's what I was saying.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, before we do that, then see, she's throwing me back into this. I remember during one live stream you were talking about that when probably when that trailer was released.
Yeah.
Um, you were saying how it could function as a reset because of some of the things that happened in the trailer.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely in terms of bringing in characters and killing off other characters, kind of just resetting things in a way where the universe makes more sense. Connecting things, like maybe connecting Loki to in the movies and a lot of this TV show stuff, and like how everything has been spread around. I feel like there's a way to Deadpool to kind of now bring everything together,
Okay.
and interact with more people.
Now, do you think that the MCU should kill some characters permanently? I know we had to go out the multiverse, so it's kind of hard to do that now.
Hmm.
But do you think that would heighten the stakes a bit for the audience, make it a little more real?
I think the way you heighten stakes, it's not just like because we've done that, right? Like we did the end game, we killed Tony. Sorry if you've never seen End Game, but that's crazy if you haven't. Uh, we killed Black Widow and whatnot. I think maybe um where I think this is going is the divergent storyline. I forgot the Marvel term for it, where the planets hit each other and explode, and this is how you get rid of the multiverse problem. And I
Hmm.
think that's where you do that. You have our Earth that we've been following, and they're trying to save the version that we have against all these multiverses, and that's how you get people who die because maybe it's an old school character like Wesley Snipes Blade is on another Earth, and his
Right.
version, his Earth is about to explode, and that's where that emotional attachment comes from. And you add the nostalgia, and so I think maybe they could do something like that instead of just killing like regular characters. I think maybe like Hulk and Thor are up next for that
Hmm.
because there's not much the MCU can do with those characters anymore.
Right.
But other than that, I don't think any of the new people need to die.
Okay. Okay. One more because this is going to something that you have been working on your channel also. Says Zach, have you gotten a chance to watch Return of the King yet? Still waiting on that review.
This has been following me every live stream I go. I was on Zach M's live stream. Someone asked me that. Like, yes. No, I have not gotten to watch it yet. I said in the next 2 weeks because the movie is 4.5 hours, and I think I'm gonna watch half, and then I'm gonna watch another half the next day, and then I'll definitely do a review. Oh my god!
Yeah, I figured you get a kick out of that question because I know it
I
comes
know,
up all the
man. Y'all
time.
better make this get to 1,000 views. How much y'all been asking for? Oh man, but yeah.
So far, enjoying the series?
Uh, yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking sorry. Yeah, I've enjoyed the first two movies a lot. The first one more than the second one, but the second one is still a great film, even
Okay.
though it's my most disliked review I've ever had.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
That I didn't know. That's interesting. All right. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get to the reason why we're here.
yeah,
I'm going to give you the screen and you can tell everybody the movie you had me watch.
yeah. So, with Movie Swap, I gave him RRR, an Indian action film that was in theaters that did really, really well, and is on Netflix if you want to check it out. The synopsis is a fearless revolutionary and an officer in the British force who once shared a deep bond decide to join forces, chart out on an inspirational path of freedom against the despotic rulers. They gave me a word I didn't know how to say. But yeah, RR is a 3 hour bromance, action, revenge, love story that I've never seen anything like this ever in my life. It's epic, it's fun, it's sad, it's funny, it has dance numbers, and I was really excited to see what Dell had to say about this movie because it's so much at one time.
It is a lot. It is a whole lot.
And
That
very
is
different from what I'm watching.
yes, very very different. Yeah, well, I'm gonna start with the runtime because I
Hmm.
know that a lot of people will because it is on Netflix. It's been on Netflix for a long time now.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people look at it and go, "Man, 3 hours. Oh, I just can't do it." Um, I would say take one of those nights that you would normally binge a series and watch RRR in its place, and it's all over the place. So you kind of feel like you've watched the series by the end of the movie. So I may be already tipping my hand, but anyway, um, the tone because you've mentioned bromance, revenge flick, war flick, um, regular romance, epic action adventure, Indiana Jones style adventure, and even we talked about the MCU. Definitely got some superhero going on in it.
Hmm. Some political stuff.
It's it's a lot. It's a lot happening. How do you think it handled the tonal shifts in the movie and musical and musical? Don't want to
And the
forget that
musical aspects
also.
too. I think that I don't know. I think that the movie balanced a whimsical feel and then had like an undercurrent of sadness all at the same time at all times for the most part. And I think the music really helped with that. I think the music is a big part of that film, and I think the music and the score set the stage for what you're in. Is this going to be like the bromance part where they're like blah blah blah, or is this the funny part, or is this a dance number? I think that helped a lot in terms of like shifting from one section to another, and instead of it being kind of jarring, where it's like, whoa, why are you guys laughing now after you just chopped that guy heads off?
Right. And I think what you said is really important that it maintained that undercurrent of sadness throughout and the kind of whimsy on top. So no matter what genre we were currently in, you know, it didn't throw you for a loop. It's not jarring, like you said. Whereas in a lot of American movies, this is a Bollywood movie for anybody who didn't know. In a lot of American movies, it's okay. We're deadpan serious right now, and then all of a sudden we're jokey, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden we're back to being deadpan serious, and you kind of get that that herky jerky feel to the movie.
Yeah.
And it's impressive that this didn't do that because of the way it maintained those two elements that you mentioned, the undercurrent of sadness and then the whimsy on top of it. and through it all, I think our two main characters at every point, they're it's a redemption story for both men.
Mm, yeah.
For at least the way I view it. So it's that is always present.
Yeah.
So for one character, and the names might get confusing because they call each other by several names throughout the
Yeah.
movie, and but we got our I guess our main character, our first protagonist. Beam is the name I'm that's sticking
Yep.
most
I
most
know
in my
exactly what
head.
you're talking about. I'm looking at it right now. Yep. Beam.
Yeah, and he his redemption. He's trying to prove himself worthy of the gifts he's been given
Hmm.
and the tasks that he's been assigned to, and yeah, he's just trying to make it so that he is the right person for that. And his friend, whose name I'm totally escaping right now, um,
That would be Alluri.
thank you. He is on the other side of it as far as from a philosophical standpoint, as sometimes the legally, other times, but he is
Hmm.
also trying to prove himself worthy of his father even. So
Yeah.
we get that all the way through the movie, and so through those tonal shifts, it's it navigates pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge surprise when all of a sudden we've just broken out into an Indian dance battle. It's like
Yo, I think that's the one moment in the movie where I kind of had to like, whoa, there's dancing and singing, and this is a musical because
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of musicals, so I was scared that this movie, but it was just one section, and actually was really good. So
Hmm.
I was like,
Hmm.
I don't even mind that too much. So that was the only time the tonal shift was like, whoa, because I just didn't expect it. But once I got into it, I was like, oh, I like this. This is fine.
Yeah, I thought they set it up really well because they're at the this party,
Yeah.
and we got the one guy, the white guys dancing, and they're trying to dance like the white people there, and it's not quite working out, and yeah, and then he's like, all right, well, you know what, screw that, this goes up to the band, and this is what we're gonna do, and then the party just kicks into high gear from there. So I thought they set it up really well. So I wasn't too thrown by that. And there's actually a couple of times when we just break out into song and
Yeah.
throughout the movie. But I thought this one was done really well. And this movie, now starting with that, it has no problem just going for it. And you watch some movies and you can tell when a director's just kind of throwing things up against the wall to see if they stick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the difference is they throw a lot of things up against the wall in this movie, but most of them stick.
Yeah.
Most of them stick. So it gets pretty wild.
Because I think it
Now,
all tied together. Like the wild thing you just saw connects later on in this long film. Like so you go like,
yes.
oh yeah, that. So then you start tying things together.
Yes, there are definite payoffs to just about everything that you see. And even right at the beginning, now this is where my whole thing was kind of thrown. My mind was kind of blown. Was right towards the beginning when we meet Alluri, and for the first time, and all the protesters are standing
Oh,
outside,
I was waiting for this.
and the guy's trying the man in charge, the general, I think he's the general. He's trying to find, okay, we need to arrest that guy. He points out one guy in this crowd of like thousands of people. And he's like, go arrest that guy. And he's
Yep.
only got, what, 2 dozen guards there or something like that, standing there, and there's thousands of people on the other side of this fence. And you want me to
Yeah.
go on the other side of this fence and arrest one guy? And here comes my man. He just takes off running and like flies into the crowd almost. And starts dragging people out. And then he's having to fight all these people around him. So that was pretty nuts, and that was where my first inkling of, okay, we got part superhero movie in here,
Yeah.
because he literally, I mean, he
That's some
floated
Captain
out.
America stuff.
Yeah, yes, it was pretty wild. Um, as far as like, how did you feel first time you saw that?
I was thrown off because the way RRR was hyped up to me, I thought it was this really serious, grounded story about Indian Revolution. So the movie starts and it's like a riot, and I'm like, okay. And then he just goes flying over the fence, and I'm like, whoa, what is happening? And he just starts beating like 100 people's ass by himself, and I'm like, oh, all right.
We're not watching Gandhi, that's for sure.
No, 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 no. At first, I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was like, "Oh, I might not like this movie. It might be kind of cringy and janky."
Mhm.
But as the movie kept going, I was like, "Okay, I understand like what's going on. This movie doesn't. The movie has a message, but it doesn't take itself super seriously. So that's where I was like, all right, I get it."
Yeah, it definitely comments on British colonialism um
Yeah,
heavily, but it's not a beat you over the head with it kind of deal. That's for sure. But it's present in the characters' actions,
hmm
but there's not a lot of preaching in
yeah.
the
There's
movie.
not really a dialogue about what they did. They just show you what they're doing.
Right, right. And the few times when they do talk about it, it's brief enough that it doesn't bog the movie down, and it's impactful what they're saying.
Yeah,
For instance, mainly with Illyri's, him and his father, they have together a couple of scenes that they have together, and when the British start coming in and they're shooting everybody in the village, and he picks up the rifle and he starts firing back, which was an amazing scene.
yeah,
Uh, and yeah, so they show not tell is definitely in effect here. So I really appreciated that. Um, Now the bromance is the glue that holds everything together.
yeah.
How are you feeling about that bromance?
I was so happy about it because we rarely get it. We never see a bromance starting. Like you'll get a movie where it's like teenagers, they have a bromance, but we never saw how they met. We didn't even see how the bromance started. They already love each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like in a platonic way. You never see two men just like fall in love with each other, but in like a platonic, non-sexual way. They just like you're my guy. you know?
Right.
And I thought it was really interesting because they're so opposite in terms of ideology, without knowing.
Hmm.
And they just had so much to get along. And I thought that was a message in itself. Like we all as humans have so much in common, but there's certain things that we associate with ourselves that keeps us apart. And that's like a big part of the movie, I think, as well, in terms of the size that they're on. And the fact that Alluri was actually kind of chasing after Beam, but he didn't
Hmm.
even know that he was becoming friends with the person he was supposed to be chasing. I thought that was hilarious.
That was hilarious. It was fantastic, and what I really appreciated was they you said they were opposites, right? They were so opposite in a lot of ways, and while that's true, they didn't do it in a tropey kind of way.
Yeah.
In a lot of movies, you get, the one guy, he's just a straight edge, hard laced guy, and everything he does is going to be exactly that way. And then the other guy's goofy and silly and a loose cannon, and everything he does is going to be that way. Well, it wasn't this that way with these two guys. We got to see two well rounded people becoming
Yeah.
friends. And I thought that was a really big plus for the film. Um, doing it the other way, like we get in a lot of movies, it's tired by now. We've seen it,
Yeah.
we know it. It can be cute and fun, but it's not. I'm not going to get emotionally invested, right?
Yeah.
So
It's caricatures.
right, they're caricatures. Whereas here, like I said, they're more well rounded people. Now, within that though, we also got some family drama on both
Hmm.
sides,
Yeah.
and we find out that Alluri has a fiance. We don't meet her for a really long time,
Yeah.
but the payoff I thought with her character was amazing. I
Yeah.
really did enjoy the payoff with her character. Um, and then on the other side of it, we got Beam and his growing love for or infatuation uh, with the white woman. I can't remember her name. She was the
Oh
general's,
yeah.
but she was well
Jennifer.
to do. Jennifer, thank you. And I was worried about that because
Hmm.
when it first started at the beginning of the movie, and he starts looking at her with these Google eyes, I'm like, oh, are we doing the,
It's one of those.
yeah, it's one of those where, the magic of the white woman is is gonna save us all,
Yeah,
or
the white savior.
or or she's superior to everybody else, she or a superior woman to other women. So well, how do
She's
you
the
think it
one that's
handled that whole
different.
thing?
I honestly, I thought they were. I'm so glad they did it. I thought it was going to be like the I'm the special colonizer.
Hmm.
I thought, oh, I don't believe in this. I just benefit from it, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like that kind of character that we've probably seen in American movies a ton.
Right.
I really thought that was where the movie was leading, and I'm so happy that it did it. I thought they were gonna have her be like the white companion. I thought she was gonna be the one that puts the rift in between them, which it kind of, but like they never really went fully down that route. That's not what the movie was about at all.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really glad that they handled it the way they did, because if they had went down the route we just talked about, I really would have been rolling my eyes a lot and be like, just, we really did this, but they didn't. Let's check in here and see if anybody's saying anything about the film, or if they have anything else to say. And Collector says, I thought the trailer was a little bit underwhelming. I think he's talking about Joker. I
Mhm.
hope they don't go away from the swearing, the violence, the naughty language. Oh no, Deadpool. He's talking about Deadpool
Oh,
being a
really?
Disney. Well,
From what I'm hearing, they're not. I heard that Ryan Reynolds said that they didn't give him any limits. So
yeah, it is a rated R movie.
yeah,
And in one of the very first things he says in the trailer is like, pegging is not is new to Disney, but not new to me.
I,
So
when he said that, I was like, Ryan Reynolds knows what he's doing. Like
yeah,
everyone else probably was scared, like, oh god, Deadpool. Immediately, like, oh no, never mind. This is gonna be great.
yeah, yeah. So uh, I'm thinking he's got no limits. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Zach needs to get ready, y'all. Chill. LOL. I'm not. I'm not. I'm guessing he's talking about Lord of the Rings, the Return
yeah,
of the King.
yeah. Oh god.
All right. R is a fun one. Corey says.
Yeah.
Dell, I would definitely like to do a movie swap with you. I appreciate
Hey.
it. I am, and I'll talk a little bit more at the end of the stream about where I am with movie swaps. I'm definitely going to continue doing, so don't think I'm not stopping doing them, but I do have uh some things I just want to say about uh what's happening currently,
Okay.
which will affect how often I do movie swaps.
Makes sense.
CC, so oop, about to add RRR to my watch list. Oh yeah, go for it.
I personally, I like obviously I don't know CC in real life, but based on how she talks in her videos, I think she's gonna love this movie. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I get the same feeling. I get the same feeling. All right, Caveman. What's up, Caveman? I don't think I saw you earlier. He says yes, and he always comes with the stats for me, or the facts. The Star is born 1937, 1954 had Judy Garland in it,
Mm.
1973, 1976 with Barbara Streisand. I do remember that one. 2010, I don't remember that. And 2018 with Lady
Damn.
Gaga.
They made one in 2010 and then 2018. They couldn't
Well,
even let that 2010 one breathe.
well, if you look at the rest of the list,
Oh yeah, sure.
1973 and 1976.
76. Yeah. Jeez.
And that's not to mention all of the other movies that are inspired by it,
Yeah,
because there are lots of movies that are inspired by it.
of course.
I mean, the very basic story, has been told
Millions of
umpteen
times.
thousand times.
Yeah.
So that is, I didn't realize it was that many remakes, though. I knew it was a few. Collective Movie Man, I will be back in a little bit. I'm going to check out John Campea live stream from CinemaCon. Have
Oh
fun
yeah.
with it. If you make it back, great. I appreciate it. If not, check out the replay, and you'll get my answer for Movie Swap. There you go. If you're not if you're not here still, Huck is here. Huck's had a birthday today. Happy birthday!
Happy
And he
birthday.
says, "Hey, just popping in to say hi. Catch the replay. Headed out for my birthday dinner."
Nice. Hope
So
you eat
Huck
well.
just turned like a little older than 21. That's all I'll say. I'll let
Ooh.
him handle the rest if he wants to.
Oh, these young bucks.
And Smirk is here. What's going on, Smirk? It's good evening. Just wanted to drop a like. I'll definitely catch the replay. I appreciate it. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to RRR. Um, some of the action scenes were like I said, they just go for it. And I'm gonna tell you that rescue scene when they showed up at the mansion, my
Mm,
jaw literally dropped open because I had no clue what was coming. I knew they were going to try to rescue this little girl, and I don't know if anybody either didn't understand or didn't hear or is not familiar. Um, the basic overarching plot that carries throughout the movie is that a little girl, a little Indian girl, has been basically taken hostage by some colonizers who
mhm.
decided that they like the way she sings and does nails, and so they keep her cooped up in the house to do all of their friends' nails and sing to them. And
That's a
Beam
wild
has
statement.
yes, it is.
Sorry,
It's
it's
wild.
crazy.
It's even wilder that I could totally see it happening.
Yep.
That's
I'm
that's
sure this
even
is based on
wilder to me.
something that actually happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Beam has been hired by, not really hired, but he's been appointed to go rescue the girl, and of course, Lurie works for the colonizers on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Um, so the rescue scene, and I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it because I want you to have fresh eyes going in. So if you could try to talk about this scene without giving too much away, all I'll say is we get a payoff from some things that we see earlier in the movie.
Like an action scene from early in the movie. Yeah.
Yes, an action scene from earlier in the movie. And the second, that is probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. Um, where were you during this part?
Like you said, you know what's special about this movie is that the plot's not super like original in terms of like what the actual plot is.
Right.
Like it's like Taken or like it's there's certain things that they have together. It's like, oh, we've seen this before. It's just the execution and how much time they spend on developing everything that I think makes it special. So the plot of we're gonna go rescue the girl, we've seen it tons of times. But the way they do it, you've
Yes.
never seen in your life. And I can guarantee that because when they rolled up and they did the thing, I was like, what is happening? What are you talking about? I
Yes,
did
that's what
literally
I
when I was
was.
watching it on my TV. Thankfully, I watched this on my TV. I said, what are you talking about? And I paused it and I was like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Let me rewind that. Let me see if I actually saw them
Yeah.
open that
Oh
door.
yeah. Yeah. 'Cause it had when it happened. I said we doing what now? What? And
And then
then
on top of that, movie is just bonkers from that moment on. It's just bonkers for until almost to the credits. The credits
yes,
are even crazy.
yes. So anybody who hasn't seen it, I want you to see it. And then here's what I want you to do. I got a task for you. And maybe Zach, you can try to answer this also. How does it end? How does this rescue scene actually end? Because we don't technically get the end of the rescue scene.
Oh
We
yeah,
kind of cut away from it.
yeah,
How does it end?
that is true. We kind of do cut away from it. They focus more on other stuff in terms of, like the bromance and taking out. Yeah. They kind of like forget the mission.
Yeah. So I'm like, wait, who stopped this? Who what happened?
did the lion go and just take her away? Like I don't understand.
It's nuts. It's just and it's nuts in a good way. It's
Yeah,
not like it's not one of those where you just kind of roll your eyes and go, okay, this is dumb and I'm gonna cut it off now. It's not
yeah.
that. You're so invested by that point and so used to things just kind of, you know, popping off when you're not expecting it, that it becomes one more thing, but it's like, okay, I can kind of see a logical, almost logical progression. It's like, okay, we're getting a little crazy, a little crazy, a little crazy, and boom, here we are. So
Oh, we didn't
I,
even
I
talk
really
about like the
appreciated that.
bridge scene. The bridge scene was nuts
Yes.
with the swinging.
Yes.
Yo,
Yes.
that I was like, oh, okay. Where it, you know what it is for me? Like, I personally like when filmmakers just go for it. even if it's not the perfect movie, the fact that you went for it and put something that couldn't even imagine, like you caught me off guard, that makes me
Hmm.
appreciate your movie even more. And
Yeah,
this
and
does this through the whole movie. The whole movie is that.
a lot of it. Yeah, yeah. Even the hanging scene, I was like, uh, I've seen hanging scenes before. I've seen lots of slave movies. I grew up on Roots. I know what this is. And then it just went left. I was like, what the hell? How do we do?
How did we
Whoa,
get here?
what is that? What is happening now? And but it's like I said, it's not one of those where it does that and you immediately tune out. It's like, oh, I got to see how this plays out. And I will say I cringed during that a lot. I was like, that looks painful. That,
Yeah, it's
that's
rough.
crazy.
And it's crazy that we get that scene, which is like, but at that point, we're so emotionally invested in the characters and seeing where things are going. You're like, oh no, like this is a movie that's easy to get lost in, and you forget you're watching a movie. You're just like
Hmm.
in this world, and you just want to see where it goes. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Even
you
when there's trouble with
definitely.
the bromance, you're like, no, 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 no. I like when they're friends.
Yeah, yeah. It's and watching it through before we find out Alluri's story, before we find out his backstory, and I was watching it going, for him, for this particular character and this particular type of character, the movie is being really sympathetic to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't sure why,
Same.
and then I got it, and 'cause I'm kind of I was thinking back to Judas and the Black Messiah,
Mm.
um, and I was like, okay,
Great movie.
that in that movie, the movie itself and the characters in the movie, they weren't so sympathetic. The movie itself was not sympathetic towards Lakeith Stanfield's character.
No,
And this, there's certain things that happen where the
similar.
filmmaker could have made it so that we all hate this person as much as they wanted to,
Yeah.
and it never did that. And then we eventually get the backstory. It's like, oh, okay, then now it makes sense. And then from there you get he's still doing things to maintain his mission,
Yeah.
almost at the cost. Well, really would, if it were me, would probably be at the cost of our friendship.
Yeah.
Because
No, it's exactly what it was. It was at the cost of the greatest friendship he probably ever had.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I that I was gonna ask really just how you felt about his actions from that point forward, because I was so conflicted.
So I remember watching this movie. It's a roller coaster, like for me in terms of emotions, how I felt about the movie. This It does so many things where I'm like, whoa, what? This is what y'all are hyping up, and then like I get back into the groove of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm down. I like this, and then they do something again. So with Allura's character, I hated him.
Hmm.
There's something that we have in the black community where is a C word. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube. And I was like, he's the brown version of it. And I'm so mad that he's helping the colonizers.
Right.
And just everything until they explained his backstory. I was just like, I do not like this character. I do not like him. Why do they keep focused on him as like the 1B main character? I want to go back to Beam. He's likable. I want to see his group that he has. And then when they finally explain why he's doing what he's doing and everything like that, I was like, oh, okay. It's a little different. It's a little more complicated to him just being a traitor.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then it kind of colors the past. Like this is a good movie to like you can just rewatch it and just colors everything, all his decisions, and you can understand more.
Yeah. And yeah, I know the word you're talking about very well. Uh Starts with a C, rhymes with June, and if you know, you know, and if you don't know, Urban Dictionary is probably your friend at that point.
Facts.
Um, just don't use it. There you go. Don't use it. All right. Mika does say, I just put it down for some reason. Still have not seen RRR, but have heard great things.
Hmm.
We got some more happy birthdays, and we got, hey Alan, have you seen that? with T, what's going on? And have you seen Mr. Copley, Mr. Corey, and CMM? Okay, I'm sorry. That was a chore to get through. Can't be throwing all those abbreviations and stuff at
Threw
me,
all of
guy.
them in there.
Can't
One
do
thing I want
that
to say
to
about
me,
the
bro.
runtime, the movie doesn't feel 3 hours.
No, no, it does not. It
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 doesn't.
it goes by pretty quickly, and because things happen in life, I had to pause the movie
Yeah, of course.
I had to pause the movie to get up and do some things. Um, and it was really like literally right in the middle. And I know, so I'm looking at it, it's like, man, hour and a half has gone by already. And I was like, man, okay, this is going by pretty quick.
Breezy.
Kenny says, yo, RRR is the truth.
Yeah.
What's going on, Kenny? And he said, hey, family, before that. All right. So we move through towards the end of the story. We got all those actions, and it's not a spoiler. I mean, things work out, so it's
Yeah.
not really a big spoiler.
Yeah. It's an action film. Usually
It's
things
an
work
action
out.
film, and you mentioned the runtime, and with that runtime and all of the things that happened, like you said, it's a movie to get lost in. It's not so much to worry about. Are we going to save the day? There's not really so much to worry about that, though there are some tense moments and you're not really
Yeah.
sure,
Especially the
and some
forest
crazy
fight.
things happen towards that end also, um
Yeah.
where you kind of scoot up to your edge of the seat maybe, but it's more about the ride than the destination.
Yeah.
And that's about the best way I can put it for anybody who hasn't seen it. So yeah, it's gonna take up a lot of your day, but yeah,
Worth
it's
it.
it's it's a fun movie to do.
Puts a lot of American movies to shame. Like you're like, why can't y'all do this? This movie didn't even cost.
Yeah,
Well, let me stop saying it because I'm like, oh, this movie didn't cost that much. Like if they did an equivalent in America, it would cost a lot because they would hire like actors that want $10 million to do it. So that's the
yeah,
difference.
yeah. And well, speaking of comparing it to American movies, and we talked about this a little bit earlier at the very beginning. What do you think of the CGI that's used in the film? And before you answer, I'm just going to say to everybody,
Mhm.
we get a disclaimer right at the beginning of the movie that none of the animals are real. They're all CGI, all computer generated, or at least 99% of them.
Yeah,
Um, so it threw me off a little bit to have that disclaimer at the front because that put it at the front of my mind.
yeah.
Whereas I couldn't quite get lost in some of that at the beginning, but as the movie wore on, it was better. But go
Yeah.
ahead, how do you feel about the CGI in the film?
I forgot that they did that. They definitely did do that. I think I wish they didn't tell me because there's certain scenes, especially like we were talking about the rescue scene, where it's a little noticeable.
Mm,
But the first scene where the tiger is chasing Beam and they come face to face, I'm like, that's VFX.
hmm
How? Who did this? Give that man a raise and a paid vacation because this is amazing. So I think I'll say about like 80% of the movie, the VFX are flawless,
yeah, yeah,
and the other 20%, they're not, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? Like it's just some stuff that they're doing with the things that are VFX that's just there's no way to make it look amazing
right.
without doing it practical. So and you can't do practical lions fighting. So it had to be VFX because somebody would have died. So I'll say 80% of the time, VFX is amazing. You will be immersed in it, and then like that other 20%, you can forgive because not only are what you're seeing on the screen is awesome, but it's not bad. It never gets like the worst. Like it never gets Modoc.
Right,
It's always really strong.
right. It's yeah, it's really clean for the most part. Like you said, there are a few moments when you kind of look at it and go, okay, I can tell right there. But I think when they need it to be, it's really good.
Yeah,
It's really good when they need it to be. Um, but I'm like you. I wish they had not had that disclaimer at the beginning. If you put that disclaimer in the end credits,
yeah. I was gonna say
okay,
that. Yeah,
great. Because I've already now gone through the movie, but now they kind of put me in the mind frame of looking to see if I can tell, and
yeah.
I didn't really like that part about it. But I mean, they did a really good job with it. So that's cool. Kenny says I saw RRR in a small theater where there was an intermission. It was a great experience.
Oh man,
An
intermissions need to come
intermission.
back.
Wow. I
One
have
of my
not.
favorite movie experiences is watching the animated Superman Death and Return, and it was basically two animated movies, but they were playing it together in the theaters as
Yeah.
one. So when the Death movie ended, there was a little bit of intermission, and then the returns happened, or Reign of Superman, I should say, not Return. And I really loved it. I was like, I had time to digest the first part. I had time to use the bathroom. I could get some more snacks. They really need to bring back intermissions, man. It is a great experience, especially if you go with someone. It's amazing.
Yeah, they really do, and I'm sorry if I seem like I'm being a
You
little
know, you
rude.
looking for you have the movie or you have the comic?
Yeah, I do know I've got the move. There it is. There's the movie right there.
Yeah, man.
The Death and
Yeah,
Return
man.
of
It's so
Superman.
good.
Um, but yeah, I haven't been in a theater with an intermission. I don't know ever, and I'm a lot older than you. That's crazy. And now I do remember watching a movie on HBO years and years and years ago, a Warren Beatty movie called Red.
Mm.
Reds, not Red. Reds. It's like 4 hours and change. And I watched it on HBO, and they had an intermission in the middle of that. It was like the screen just went like black or something. It was like intermission.
He was like, "Go pee."
Go, yeah, exactly. So
It's from
that was cool.
1981.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'm just googling it right now. Yeah.
Don't ask me if it was any good. I can't remember because I don't think I saw it after 1982, probably. So
Got you.
been a long, 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 long time. All right, Kenny's got one more. He says the dancing, the fighting, the storytelling was all fantastic.
I agree.
There's have you seen that with T saying, "Hey, what's going on?" And they did that intermission with Scarface too on HBO. Did they? I never watched it on HBO. I don't think so. I don't know if they did that, but fantastic movie. I love Scarface.
Yeah.
The All right, so we can get ready to put this movie to bed. But before we do, is there anything about it that we did not touch on that you wanted to talk about?
I think we touched on everything: the action, the visuals, the music, the flow of the movie, the characters. There's so many characters. We probably it would take forever. It would take forever to talk about all of this movie because so much happens in such, and it feels like a little bit of time for how much happens. Like I've,
Mhm.
you know what I mean. So I think we touched on it really good. Hopefully we sold it really well. I want more people to watch this. This is one of the best film experience I've had. I don't know if it's exactly one of the best movies I've seen of all time. Like I don't know if it made it onto my list on there because maybe I'm not as emotionally attached to everything that happened as I should be. But I think it's a movie that everyone, especially if you love action films, everyone should check out at least once.
Yes, yeah. And for my friends who don't like musicals, don't let that scare you away.
No,
It's there are some musical numbers in the movie, but they're well done, and the one in the middle, the center at the party is just fantastic. It's phenomenal.
it's probably like
Um,
10 minutes out of the 3 hours in total.
yeah, it goes on for a while. I will admit that. And it's more a dance number than a musical than a
Yeah,
singing number. It's a dance number. But it's fantastic. All right, so I'm gonna give my overall final thoughts on the movie. Basically, how much did I like it? Did I not like it? Anything else that I want to mention? And for me, for RRR, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I had a fantastic time. 3 hours of just bliss, really, pretty much for the most part, because like you had alluded to, if a movie is ambitious, I'm more willing to be able to give it a chance, even if some of those things don't work. But here, most of those things work, and a lot of those things were things that I've just never seen before.
yeah.
And like I said, I've been watching movies for a really long time. You just heard I actually watched Reds in 1982. You just heard that. So I've been watching movies for a really long time. Um, and yet still I was still amazed by some of the things that happened in this film. And then the relationship between our two main characters really kept me invested. If you have a best friend, and if you've gone through tough times with your best friend and you're still best friends, then the movie definitely can speak to that. Um
Mm.
And of course, if you've had a long distance relationship, it kind of speaks to that too, and it speaks to a
Mm.
lot. But
Yeah.
for me,
Wow. Yeah, it really does a lot.
it does a lot. But it really, that relationship between our two main characters is what carried me through it, and
Mhm.
just the ambition with which it was made, with all the things that they were just not afraid to try. All of that just really kept me going, and they did it so well, and I had so much fun. So yeah, it's a fantastic movie. If you look on my letterbox, I didn't put a grade on it yet, and I'm really contemplating if I want to go the full 5 stars on
Mhm.
letterbox, or is it going to be 4.5. But it's definitely a fantastic movie. And if you're familiar with what I thought about movies from 2022, you'll know that Everything Everywhere All at Once was my favorite movie that year,
Yeah.
and this has a lot in common with that, and that is it's cramming in a lot, and it's
Oh yeah.
not afraid to do a lot of things. So I really appreciated that.
Shout
But
out to the director, S.S. Rajamouli, because if they don't have a strong director, this movie doesn't work.
right, shout out to him. Yes, and I'm not sure how you say his name, but yes,
Yeah.
Raja Mouli sounds about right. um 20, and yeah. So yeah, fantastic film. And a strong director really is key here, because he has to pull all of it together, and I think he managed to do that. And Kenny says I think he thinks he gave it 5 stars on Letterbox. So
That's fair.
yeah. Speaking of directors, we're gonna switch over to the other
Mm.
movie, and this movie is, yeah, it's the opposite of RRR in just about every way. It's half the runtime. It's about a little more than half the runtime, about an hour 40 it runs.
Yeah.
Um, the tone is decidedly dark
Hmm. Oh
all the
yeah.
way through, all the way through the movie. And I'm a large screen for just a moment, and
Yeah.
I am talking about Requiem for a Dream. Uh, we meet, we got Jared Leto's character, and he over here, Jared Leto's character, and when we first meet him, we already know that he is a junkie.
Mhm.
He's robbing his mother of her television set. She's locked herself in another room because she's afraid of him, and they're arguing. He finally leaves with the set and runs into his best friend, played by Marlon Wayans, and they go and basically hawk the TV, get some money to go buy some drugs. His girlfriend is played by Jennifer Connelly. Um, Not Marlon Wayans. Jared Leto's girlfriend is played by Jennifer Connelly, also a drug addict. So the three of them spend a lot of time together getting high. And on the up, we watch them try to figure out A, how to get their next fix, and then B, how to make some money by selling drugs. Kind of hard when you're always trying to get high. And then on the opposite side of that, we have Jared Leto's mom, who's played by Ellen Burstyn from The Exorcist fame. She's pretty lonely older woman. She doesn't see her son much, other than when he's trying to come take something from her to get money. Um, she spends a lot of time at home watching TV, and she watches a lot of infomercials, and she wants to be on this one infomercial with the guy Tabby's something. And she gets a call one day that she has won a prize, that she's going to be on the show, and she decides she wants to wear this red dress that she wore years and years ago. It doesn't fit. She's going to go on a diet. Well, the diet's not quite working out. She finds a quack who prescribes her all sorts of diet pills, and then that's the path she goes down. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, as far as how the setup of the story is for Requiem with a Dream.
Yeah.
And Darren Aronofsky is the director. And before I go on, I just want to say what's up to my man Big Chris from Floyd House Flicks. He says, "Peace, brothers. Glad I got to catch the live. Shout out to the chat. What's going on, man? Always glad to have you here. But you know how we do. All right, Darren Aronofsky, as I mentioned, he's the director. This is probably his most famous film. He did
Probably.
Noah a few years after this. He did Pie before this. Uh, well, he did Black Swan. Black Swan might be a more famous movie. He did Black Swan.
Yeah, I can see
A
that.
lot of people think that's his best movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Mother is his most infamous.
Mother is his most infamous. I like Mother, but I know it's a love it or hate it kind of movie.
Divisive, yeah.
Yeah, lots of people hate that movie. And you said when we talked about when you picked this movie, I was like, okay, this is kind of a tough one. You said you had heard that, so you had to kind of brace yourself going in. Was it worth? Did you really need the bracing, or did we overhype it?
No. It wasn't so it's funny because like the first 2/3, I was like, oh, they overhyping this. And then we get into the last act, and I'm like, oh god, no, the feels. No. So I actually held off watching this movie until this morning because I wanted it to be fresh in my mind.
Okay,
Watch this movie when you just wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning is not a good idea, guys. Don't do that.
not a way to set your day in motion.
No, 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. And it's not because the movie's bad. It's because you just don't want to be that depressed 7 o'clock in the morning before you go to work. Um, but I'll say that like, yeah, it's hard watch. Every time I told people I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, that's a hard watch. You watching it right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I'm halfway through and I see where this is going." And it was worse than I thought it was going to be. Uh, oh man, yeah. It's so funny. You got this gleeful, like amazing 3 hour. Yes, there's sadness and there's some hard scenes to watch, like the hanging scene or the whipping scene in RRR. But for the most part, it's some fun action, fun characters, cool CGI animals, and I'm out here watching the most depressing movie ever. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself? But this is also my kind of movie, right? Like I like movies that make you think. I like movies that are capsules. Like this is really a capsule of the late 90s, early 2000s. There's a lot of things in there that like just not modern, like the big back TVs and the way they're dressed and the old lady sitting out there trying to catch the sun and all this other stuff. The yellow caps, the yellow taxis. People don't really take that no more. It's usually Uber and Lyft now. Not having a cell phone, you got to go get a payphone and all that. So it was a lot of stuff that brought me back. So I love when they do that, and it like I think the main part of it was Ellen Burstyn's character and her getting addicted to those weight pills, and it reflect back to me like, oh yeah, they used to put like heroin and cocaine in this back in the day before people figured out like this is addictive and you should stop. So the tone of the film is so crazy.
Yeah,
Um, because the way it's directed by Darren Aronofsky, who's starting to become one of my favorite directors. I love Black Swan. I love The Whale. And this is my third film from him. And while I won't say I love this film, because it's hard to say you love this film. It's so rough to watch. It's not something I'm like, I'm gonna rewatch this. I appreciate it a lot. I think that Jared Leto gives a great performance. I think Marlon Wayne, seeing him in something more serious, was really cool to see him pull it off and do a good job. And Ellen Burstyn to me gave a award winning kind of performance where she should have been nominated for something, right from the
if I'm
beginning
not
to the end.
mistaken, she won Oscar.
She did. Okay,
If she didn't win it, she was definitely nominated, and it doesn't say so on the back here.
let me see. Oscar. What the heck? Spell Oscar. YouTube.
But yeah,
Oscar.
she was amazing. While you're looking at her, she was amazing in this film.
And one
I
Best
mean,
Actress. So yeah, she won.
yeah, right from the beginning, she was just amazing. Every bit of it, and she was the character. We're probably meant to feel this way, but she's definitely the character that I felt the most for.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
1000%. I think the scene that really made the movie because the movie drops you right into the world, right? It doesn't ease you in. You get straight into the action, and Darren Aronofsky directs this in like this frenetic pacing, where it's
mhm,
like conversation, and it's like these slides of the things that they're doing real quick, and
yeah,
then they go to the next scene where they're talking, and it keeps doing that, and you're like, okay, like you have to catch up with the movie. The movie's not waiting for you, and then we keep doing that for a while, and I love it because they do it. You get the gimmick, and then there's something that happens in the middle of the movie where, oh, I can see the differences now. But the scene, and my favorite scene in the movie, is when Jennifer Connelly's character told Jared Leto, "Let's go buy that TV for your mom." He does it. He goes back and talks to her, and she talks about, I'm lonely. I, this is something for me to live for, and all these different things. And I was like, this is a scene that made it for me, because at this point it was kind of just people just doing things. It felt
Hmm.
like, but that conversation colored everything in the movie. Kind of how like this, everyone in this movie is kind of lonely. They have depression, they're suffering from something, and they're using these things to distract them, whether it's drugs or competition or something, just to get their mind off what they're dealing with instead of working on it. And then Ellen Burstyn's performance in that scene was, from the moment he got out of the taxi up until he left, was, that's what you show the Academy, like, here, give her the award.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It
They
was amazing.
really, that scene and the other scene for me, um, when she's sitting there alone and the refrigerator starts moving.
Oh, the jump scare.
Yeah. Oh man. Now I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Um, but it's been some years since I've seen it last. So I
Yeah.
kind of forgot about that scene. And then she looks over, and then the fridge just starts coming towards her. I was like, we we having a bad time right now.
Yeah, like, damn, you gone. This is something
Yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah. You way gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because at that particular time I get home earlier than my wife does. We both work, but I get home earlier, so I'm
Yeah.
throwing this movie because I know this is not the kind of movie she wants to see. And she happened to come in and sit down for a minute. She came in and then she sat down for a few minutes during that scene. She was like, "Oh, so she's crazy, huh?"
She's going crazy.
I said, "Yeah, kinda."
Yeah, yeah, she's going crazy. And
Yeah,
just
kinda.
just how they treat people who need help back in the day, that was the hard part of it.
Mhm.
What happened to each individual character? Not Jennifer Connelly's character, but the Jared Leto, Marlon Wayans, and Ellen Burstyn's character. They needed help, and they were treated like crap because they're just seen as these crazy drug addicts.
Right,
When
right.
it's really these people who are suffering from mental and physical and emotional problems that just need help,
Yeah.
and they weren't given it. They were treated like trash, especially Marlon Wayne's character. Even though, like, I have mixed feelings on how his character was written and portrayed, I think that he was the most underdeveloped, and I feel like the ending of his story didn't make as much of an impact as the rest of them. I feel like Darren Aronofsky, I don't know who wrote this movie, I don't know if it was him, but whoever wrote it didn't really know how to prop. They were like, "Oh, he's black. Let's just, do the black thing."
I'm glad. Let's keep going down that path
Okay,
because
talk to
I
me.
was in the same boat. Um, and it started with his dialogue.
Oh, dynamite!
Yes, yes. I'm like, okay.
What the hell is going on?
So by the time 2000 rolled around, nobody black was saying dynamite. That's for sure. And to
No.
be truthful, and I'm for anybody out there who's ever seen Good Times, and I know Netflix is coming back, and that's a whole nother controversy. Um, but if you've ever seen the show, you know JJ, you know the character, you know the dynamite and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Outside of that show, that was never really like a popular term.
No.
Okay, so
People weren't
so
using it in like casual conversation. You only use it when you're talking about the show.
right, right. And this is when the show was actually on the air back in the 70s and 80s. People weren't saying that. I was there. I'm trying to tell you. Okay. No, I never once, was talking to my friends and I said, dynamite. No, it never happened. Okay. So right from there, I was like, oh, this is some white guy wrote every bit of this. So and no, not to say that's a terrible thing, but you just have to put in a little effort and make it a well-rounded character and not try to make it a black character
Hmm.
at that point.
Exactly.
Um, so from his dialogue and then some of the decisions and some of the things he was doing, it was like, eh. But I'm with you. So by the end, it was an expected ending for him, but it didn't have the impact that it should have had.
No, like maybe back then it was more impactful, but for me in 2024 watching that, I was like, that's what you did with him? Like to me, he was such an untapped character. He was the only one that kind of had some control over it. He wasn't really addicted. He did it because even the drug dealer guy was like, "I like you because you're not addicted. You're not a junkie." Because he wasn't. Out of the three of them, he wasn't a junkie. That's he was even
The
telling him like,
least,
"Hey,
the least,
yo,
yeah,
relax."
yeah. He was the least addicted.
Yeah,
Um,
he was the least addicted. He was still
it,
obviously you see him have the withdrawals at the end of the movie, but he
right,
wasn't just
and
shooting up.
no, and there was so much more that his character could have done because we see glimpses here and there. I mean, he's got moral dilemmas, even about what Jared Leto is doing,
Yeah,
throughout the movie, and then you see where he's really trying to help his friend at the end of the movie. So yeah, so much untapped potential with his character. Now that said, I will say I thought Marlon Wayans did a really good job.
yes,
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of his, and
okay,
mainly because for his comedy, he tends to drag the joke along way too long.
I
so
can see that.
so yeah, so without having to try to make something funny, I thought he
Yeah.
did a really good job, and I wish I had seen him in more serious roles.
Me too. I watched this and I was like, it was like when I watched Tupac and Juice. I was like, oh man, I wish he was acting more and left the rap alone. Obviously, he's one of the greatest rappers of all time, but he was so good in Juice. And I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure he's good in other stuff that he's in. He could have been one of the greatest to do it if he developed. And I feel like Marlon Wayans, if he got the chance to do more serious roles, because even with him being serious here, he was still a little like, not funny, but like fun. He was the
Yeah,
funnest out of the three of them. Even though I was annoyed with this is dynamite thing, I was like,
yeah,
he's still more fun than them. Even his reaction when the thing in the car with the drug dealers happened had me kind of dying laughing
right.
because it was so genuine. It was kind of like that's how I would react.
Yeah, exactly,
you
exactly.
know, one thing I want to say, I keep talking about negatives with his character, but as a black person, you notice these things. One thing that I've noticed, and I finally start seeing people having conversations about this, is that when there's a movie where there's like sexual stuff or relationships, I noticed that black and gay, or even a black and gay character, will be the most raunchiest in there. So like they'll have the white characters be sensual and you won't see anything and it's all innuendo and yada yada. And then the black characters or the gay character, and most of the time it's a black gay character, just have their ass out and they're having sex in a barn. Or they're just doing it in a way where it's not as romantic, it's more raw and like promiscuous and stuff like that. So it happens in this movie with him where they just got his ass out for no reason. There was no reason we needed that angle. They could have
Yeah,
kept it higher. I
yeah,
didn't need to see Marlon Wayne's butt like that.
yeah,
And then the black girl who is barely a character.
yeah.
Um,
Just
is Jennifer Connelly is not naked in this movie at all. And I'm not saying it in a way where like I need to see everybody naked. I'm just saying if they're not naked, these characters didn't need to be naked. They're literally the only ones that are naked.
right, right.
And Jennifer Connelly has no issue with being naked. She's been naked in tons of movies. So it was kind of like a decision by the writer and director to do that. And I just found it weird because I've noticed even up until last year, I was watching a show on Netflix called Shadow and Bone. The, Everyone's having these relationships. And the one black character in there, he's having sex in a flipping barn. And it's like a sex scene, and it was the only sex scene in the movie to show. So I'm just like, I noticed this happens a lot, and it made me sad that this happened in this movie.
Yeah, I'll agree with you to a point on this particular movie, but only
Mhm.
because of where Jennifer Connelly's character does end up.
But even that, you don't even
But
see
even that, she's
anything.
not naked.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
she
not naked.
is, but she's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, she is, but she's not.
That
Right.
yo,
Uh,
I never want to hear ass to ass ever again in my life. That shit was crazy. I was like, what? Aronofsky, you are a freak.
yeah, yeah. It got rough for her. Um, so, and that was the whole thing with then bringing Keith David into it. I was kind of why we gotta have Keith David of all the
Yeah,
people.
B is so
It was
creepy.
same. Well, yeah, and it was along the same lines of what you were talking about with Marlon Wayans' characters. Like, he's the other black guy in the movie. That's not good.
But ass
Eh,
naked.
Yeah, yeah. Also, uh, Kenny said Noah was hilariously bad. Have you seen Noah?
No, I haven't.
It's not Noah. It's the movie's Noah. It's called Noah. The
Mhm.
character's Noah. He's building an ark. It is not Noah.
He's it has all these things in here, but it ain't it.
It ain't it. It's not. It's especially, and I don't know if you're a spiritual person or religious person or not. If and I'm not really, but if you are, or even if you just know the
The
story of
stories.
Noah, you look at this
Yeah.
movie and you go, "Ooh, what? Why are you doing this? why?
Who is this
Why is
for?
this happening?" So it was yeah, it was pretty rough. Uh, his mother was something else, and I paused for dramatic effect, like he's got
Yeah.
the ellipsis there. I feel like that movie happened to me. I still don't know how I feel about it. A lot of
That means
people
I'm gonna
feel like
like it.
that.
I like movies that happen to me because it's just like, oh, you watching me? I'm not watching it.
Have you seen it?
No, not yet. It's on my list because when I watched Men from Alex Garland and I like that movie a lot. And people were like, so like people kept comparing Mother to Men, and I was like, okay, so if you could compare the two, I need to watch it because I actually like Men a lot.
That's a fair comparison, but mainly for because of the end of Men.
Mm. Oh
So
God, is Mother like the end of Men?
the whole movie is kind of like, uh, what is happening now? And you're you have to piece it together in your mind,
Mm.
and then how you piece it together and how much you enjoy piecing it together is going to dictate whether or not you like it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. I enjoyed the movie even though I'm not 100% sure what exactly happened. Um and
Those are the
I've
best
read
movies.
yeah, I've read theories, other people have
Yeah,
theories and have put things out there, and I've read some of those, and but I enjoy that, but see other people are like, okay, that's too much work and it was too confusing. I don't want any of that. So
that's fair.
wherever you fall on that spectrum is going to dictate how you how much you like uh Mother. um as far as Requiem, so we were talking about Jennifer Connelly's character a little bit,
Yeah.
and the it, it's not a happy ending, but
No, no, well, oh, you're saying out of the four of them?
of the four it's the happiest.
Yes, that's the thought I had. I was like, damn, she had the happy
She had the happiest. Now my question though is really one of inference, so it's not really something that's in the movie.
ending.
But do you think it eventually becomes the worst of the four by the end?
Mm. I don't I don't see how. Only because like Marlon is in jail. Like he's like lost. Like he was wrongfully put in there. So we've heard
Right.
stories in real life about black men being taken, being in jail for years, no trial, no one can find where they are, and they're just being used for work. Remember, it was like,
Right.
oh, good for work. So he's just stuck in there for no reason too.
Right.
That whole thing with the character blew my mind. I was like, wait, why is he? Why did they? He's just sitting there in the hospital. Why did they even get him? Whatever. And then like Jared Leto character, I guess had the best off out of the four. Cause yeah, he loses, what he loses, but he's not in jail. His brain is not scrambled, and hopefully he gets off the drugs. Hopefully he learned his lesson. After that, if he didn't learn his lesson, then he's just a dumbass. But, so hopefully he ends up being the best. Yeah, you lose a limb, but then you can just refresh your life and start over and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess so far she has the best. I don't think it can lead worse than what happens to Ellen Burstyn and Marlon Wayans. I think
Okay. Okay.
I
Fair
don't. I
point.
don't think it's gonna go that route.
Okay. 'Cause my thought with that was, and not that I really think that this is going to happen to her, but my thought is like, all right, well, she's gonna keep going back to that well,
Mm,
and it's gonna lead down something down an even darker path than it already has.
now that you bring that up, yeah, like STDs and deadly stuff like that.
Yeah, so it could get really rough for her.
Yeah,
Um, we let's go back to Aronofsky for a minute, and
yeah.
we talked about how the movie is paced and shot. And what you think of all his directorial flourishes? We had all the little slides that come in between, and we had some interesting camera work throughout the movie.
It's interesting because I feel like the way the camera and editing was is different from what the feel of the movie's supposed to be. Like I felt a lot of the stuff in the movie was battling with itself, but was still ended up being a great film.
Okay.
Um, like so I've heard the Requiem Dream song tons of times and never saw this movie
Uh huh.
because this is the movie where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that music really fit the movie that much. Every time it came on, I was like, this feels a little too orchestral for what's happening right now. Uh,
Interesting. Interesting. I thought it fit, and that's maybe because I've seen it more times.
mm,
Um, I I, I thought it fit the overall movie because it's a
mm.
dark feeling piece, but I don't think they always used it in the best spots.
Okay, that's probably what I'm trying to portray in my thoughts. I think maybe they didn't use it always in the best spots because there was certain scenes that was like, wait, why are you putting it now?
Hmm.
You know, and also it might be because of where I've seen that song before.
Hmm.
Might be why I'm portraying it to something more like epic. Like I've seen it used for tribute videos for like anime.
Yeah.
It's usually in the backdrop of something real epic but sad. So when I'm watching this and it's kind of just Ella bursted in the kitchen, I'm like, well, you know. but that this is before all that. So the music was intended for something else.
Right.
Um so that and I think like the whole like the quick cuts thing,
Hmm.
I felt like that would be more used in like a more of a like a stylized movie most of the time. So I also felt like I felt like this movie's supposed to be really serious, but then the way it was used to tell the story, I ended up like I liking it
Okay.
because of like Ella Burstyn, you know, taking the pills. And then eventually you start seeing, oh, she's taking 2 pills. She's not supposed to. You see she's
Yeah.
taking 3. And it was like that was a cool way to show each of their days without like sitting there and being boring.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I will agree with that. Um, yeah. For me, I'm pretty much the same way. Because I always worry, even though like I said, I've seen it several times, but once we get it the first time, I know we're gonna get it again.
Hmm.
So, and I'm like, okay, is this the time when that's gonna, you know, get
Change.
on my nerves? But it doesn't quite get there.
Oh,
It
okay.
never quite gets there for me. Which some other movies, where they have this one gimmick that they use over and over and over, it can kind of wear out its welcome. And
Yeah.
I don't think it did it in this film. So I thought
I
he,
think there's long gaps of it not being used,
mhm,
and I think that's why it works out because it's separated into seasons,
yes,
and I think from summer to was it fall? I think there's a long after the ending of summer into fall. I think there's like a long gap where he doesn't use it,
okay,
and I think maybe
yeah,
that's why it's spaced out and paced out throughout the film better than most people who use gimmicks, where it's like, oh, we got to get it in again, keep them engaged instead
yeah,
of it being a part of the story.
yeah, yeah. I will agree with that. Um, the we talked about Marlon Wayans, and we talked a little bit about Jared Leto.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you're a big fan of Jared Leto or not a fan of his. Where would you put this as far as of his performances that you've seen?
So I've seen him as Joker, I've seen him in Blade Runner 2049, and I've seen him in this. Um, I guess this is his best performance.
Okay.
um, I think he's a talented actor that hasn't found his proper director.
Okay.
I think what he was trying to do in Blade Runner 2049, I could see working. I just don't think that maybe Denis knew how to like use him, or maybe he fights against the director. I don't know. It might be his personality too. I think he could have been a really great Joker, but I think he just didn't have. I think David Ayer didn't know how to control him. But here, he wasn't too much. He drew sympathy out of me, even though because it was like a layer of like he cared about his mom, but he was so dedicated to the hustle and he
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to better himself. And this happens to a lot of people. I have to do this for her. I have to do this for her. I have to make her life better. I have to get money instead of just being there. And the main part is when he's having that conversation with her and she's telling him all these things and he realizes that she's on these drugs. Instead of just staying there and helping her, he leaves.
Mhm.
And I think if he would have just stayed there, not only would have it saved him, it would have saved her.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. So that's an interesting point. Um, yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. So is it though? Is it in his makeup to stay at all?
No, that's the problem.
Yeah, and
Like he
that
cares
might be
enough
why
for
I never
her,
thought of
but
it.
he needs to be out there hustling.
Yeah, yeah. Um, 'Cause it was pretty clear that yeah, I mean he cared for her. It was pretty clear, but like you said, that he was in the throes of addiction, so he couldn't really function the way the way he probably should have.
No.
And if it weren't for the women the other women in the building that she lived in,
Yeah.
I think she might have spiraled even faster
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
she did.
Because she even said it. He was like, "Oh, you have your friends." He said, "It's not the same. It's not the same. You know, you caring for someone and they're caring for you, which is true. That's why a
Right.
lot of people want a spouse because they're caring for you and you're caring for them. When it's your friend, you see them sometimes. They're not really caring for you. You connect with them and then you kind of split. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got a couple of more comments here.
yeah,
Cece's talking about Mother. I strongly dislike Mother. If I have to look up several breakdowns to understand what happened, it's not going to be for me. That
fair.
is totally fair. That's completely fair. In my case, I didn't like it because I had to look up things, but the fact that it just got me thinking and trying to piece it together is what I liked. I just wind up looking up things as a result. Um, but I totally get where you're coming from because David Lynch movies just irk me for the most part. So,
I've only seen
so I
one film
get
of
it.
his so far. That was Blue Velvet.
Yeah, yeah. I'm Mulholland Avenue, or was it Mulholland Drive? I'm not. That's not me. A torture film, Cal says, and I'm sure he's talking about Requiem.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not RRR.
Definitely, yeah. It could be a torture film. Um, 'Cause, I mean, just where Ellen Burstyn's character winds up. I mean, that just every time that just breaks my
That was the
heart.
hardest part of the movie. Just
Yeah,
what they were doing to her.
yeah. He thought it came from Little John. There's a Little John in this movie. Nah.
Oh
And he
no.
does he does not inspire the same kind of vibe. That's for sure.
Oh man.
You know, well, I don't know if you listen to the lyrics, to the window, to the wall. So yeah,
Mm.
that's not that far off. The View with Drew is here. What's going on, Drew? This is Hey everyone. What's up? All right. So we might as well go. Well, we talked about Little John a little bit, and we hadn't really talked so much about uh the journey, the overall journey that these characters were on. I mean, we
Yeah.
we talked a bit about a little bit about it. Um, were you invested in the journey, or were you recoiling from it? How
That's a
did
good
that play
word.
out for you?
Um, it's hard because I was like, I don't see where I get it. Like you want the money, And it kind of brought up this whole like, oh, Jennifer Connelly wants to open up a store, but never really revisit that, and it felt like it was a big deal in the beginning. Um, I was invested in the story and the journey once that kitchen scene, right? Like
Okay.
I wanted to see if Jared Leto's character was gonna realize what was happening to his mom. I wanted to see more of Marlon Wayne's life, which we didn't get. We got like glimpses of the mother. We don't even know if he had a dad or not, which is another trope of black characters.
Hmm.
And I was interested to see like what Jennifer Connelly was gonna do, because she was under the thumb of her parents, but she didn't want to be. And then she had like this guy who she had sex with for money, and like she was trying to get away from all that, and she was invested everything in Jared Leto's character, and he had all that pressure on him, and he's trying his hardest to do all this stuff, and it was interesting. I think the part that made me feel interested was like how much they loved each other when they
Hmm.
were on drugs, and then when the drugs started running out, how much they just did not like each other. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought the imagery of Jared Leto like seeing her at this like beach and that kind of like perfect life that he was envisioning, but
Right.
every time he was about to have a conversation or reach her, he came out of it.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of great visual storytelling in this movie in terms of like what the drugs does to their minds, from Ellen Burstyn, um going from, you know, regular kind of, and then she stops taking like refined sugar and red meat. That was like a whole big thing, and I think that's part of the story of the film. And
Hmm.
then, she gets like calm when she's taking the drugs, and then she starts eating again. You can see the sugar is making her jump all over the place again. Like I appreciate the steps of that journey because it kind of shows how people get to, like, we've all seen that lady on the street kind of wandering around talking, saying stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But we're getting it from her point of view, and like shit, like we see the path that they're going down. It kind of can open up your mind to have a more sympathetic feel to people like that. Because if I'm on a train and somebody's like, "I'm gonna be famous on TV,"
Hmm.
I'm looking at them like a lot of people on the train was like, "What?"
Hmm. Hmm.
But watching her go down that path of like, I need to lose this weight, and she got this application, not realizing how long it possibly could take, or she might never get into it. I think that was really, really interesting. I was really interested in Jared Leto and Marlon Wayne's bromance as well, and them getting up and hopefully seeing if they were going to hustle and get their way down, but slowly seeing that they keep using their own supplies, so it's probably not going to work out. Yeah, so I was invested in the characters. It just took a little time for me to get invested, and that's when I started really enjoying the movie.
Okay. Okay. Enjoy might be a strong word.
Yeah. Yeah. Joyce might be a strong word.
And I say that half kiddingly because I have returned to this movie because I mean I think it's a great movie. Um,
Yeah.
so on some level I do enjoy it. It's just not what happens is not enjoyable.
Yeah.
If that
It's more
makes
of an
sense.
intellectual level than like an emotional level.
Yes, yes. And now I'm just gonna throw something else out there because that I always say that other people when I mention it, they might go, yeah, but then they never really think of the movie that way. I always consider this a horror movie.
Hmm.
How are you on that notion?
I I uh I said that like shortly after watching. I was like, this is a horror film. This is a horror film, especially after they do the fridge monster scene. It's in a very effective horror film, but just very different from like which the horror monster is the everyday life and
Hmm.
how we spiral out. In horror movies, we see people lose their arms, we see people locked up in places, we see people tortured, but this is just done in a way that's very realistic and kind of scary. And it makes you think about the people in your life and what they're going through and the horrors that they have to face on their own sometimes, like Ellen Burstyn's character. You think about maybe your parent, like when you move away from them, how are they dealing with that if they're alone, you know?
Yeah.
Or like you have a friend that does drugs but doesn't have anybody to pull them out of their darkness. how they're dealing with it. So it kind of made me reflect on like real life situations and the horrors that these people go through. So it's definitely I think I agree with that a lot.
Okay. Okay. Um, sh- you mentioned um just just the everyday horrors of it, and that is a great way of saying it. The monster is everyday life here. That is a great way of saying that. And really the inner demons that we all battle, because they're all battling hard for with those inner demons. That's for sure. That is for sure.
10 round fights.
Oh yeah, yeah. Knockdown, drag out. It's they're going pretty hard with it. Another device that Jared Leto uses a couple times is mixing reality with what's in the mind, and you kind of hinted at that. Um, we get it early on when Jared Leto and Marlon Wayans, their characters are at the hot dog stand or
Hmm.
taco stand, whatever it is that they're eating, and cop comes and sits down next to him, and Leto's character suddenly grabs the cop's gun and they start playing keep away with the
I
gun,
was
and then we
freaking
find
out
out
at that scene.
that's not actually what's happening.
Yeah.
And then throughout the movie we get that several times. um First, two-part question. First, did he ever fool you with it? Second, did how did you feel about the use of it?
I think the early on one with the gun, I thought it was real, and I was like, "Whoa, this movie's going there." I was freaking out. I was like, this gun can go off." I was
Yeah.
like, "What is happening? Marlon Wayans, you're black. Why are you playing with a cop?" I was just all this stuff's going through my head, and then when it pulled back out and showed that he didn't really do it, I was like, "Oh." And he's just really high, and he's just in his head, and that's he's imagining doing something crazy, like intrusive thoughts, basically.
Hmm.
What's going on? So I thought that was really interesting. I think that was the only time it like got me where I was like, "Oh, this is real." Every other time the way it was framed, you could tell like it was just a trend. Actually, no, I'm lying. I thought maybe when he first saw Jennifer Connelly's character on the beach, not the beach, but like that walkway, I
Yeah.
thought maybe that was real. Maybe it was just like his passage of time was messed up because he was on drugs.
Hmm.
He thought like he got there and he didn't realize even that he walked or took a cab or whatever there, but then he realized it's a hallucination. But then after they did that 2 times, I was like, okay, now I understand that everything else is not actually real.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Watching it, I was like that first one. You kind of like, oh, and you're kind of waiting for the gun to go off. Really, it's like this is about to go crazy really quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, that didn't happen. I thought the use of it was pretty good overall. We got another friend who's popped in. We got Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View. He says, "Greetings. What's going on, Patrick?" Patrick is a future guest. We're still tying down a date. We're getting
Nice.
there. And Patrick also says, "Mother was brilliant." So Patrick's on my side. All right. So
We got so
we got
many
some
different.
out there.
Yeah.
So polarizing to say the least on Mother. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so we can get ready to wrap up. Requiem for a Dream. Anything else on Requiem for a Dream that you wanted to talk about that I did not bring up?
I think everyone definitely should check this out. In terms of watching it, I think the music is good, even though I do think the main theme was sometimes misused. And I like how everything kind of just tied together. I love when a movie can have multiple plot lines and they all kind of compound on each other. Because of every character's decision, it affected another character, and then they all end up in bad positions. And I think that that's keeps the story interesting.
Okay, okay. So overall, you said everyone should see it. So I'm going to assume that means, even though I don't like using the word with the movie, but I assumed you like the movie then.
Yeah, yeah. It is a weird movie to say you like, but I do. I think that it's not something I'm gonna run to watch again right away, but it's something
Right.
I definitely want to watch again, and I feel like I'll have a greater appreciation for it now that I know what I'm like watching.
Okay. That is completely fair. Yeah, it's something that when you do watch it again, you pick up on some things that you might have missed, and but either way, that third act is gonna just be
It's gonna wreck you.
yeah, it's gonna do some things to you that that's the best way I can tell you. So if you haven't seen it, see it
Yeah,
and find
emotional
out what we're
damage.
talking about. Culture Trinity's in here. What's going on, Trini? And he said, "What was the film discussed? You may have figured it out by now. Requiem for a Dream is what we just finished discussing. Earlier on, we talked about RRR, the Bollywood movie that's on Netflix. One of the Bollywood movies on Netflix. I didn't realize they had so many. It was
Yeah,
after I finished watching, it was like, here's more
a
like
bunch of
this one, and
stuff.
there's a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Other,
is that bad,
and I'll
Jenny?
be just saying, hey, all right. So that's it as far as the movie swapping stuff goes. Got through the chat. I will say it like I say it every week. If you're not subscribed to the people in the chat, if you guys are not subscribed to each other, check out each other's channel because most of you are content creators out there that are watching. And if you're watching it on the replay, and you got the live chat on it still, you can still read it and you can see some of the people who were in the chat. Check out their channels, subscribe if you like them, because a bunch of great folks out there. And
Yeah,
definitely subscribe to my guests. And we do have a comment about RR. So still want to see RRR. And
definitely
Corey
should.
says, thank you both. Thank you, Corey, for hanging out with us. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Zach, and let people know more about your channel and what you have coming up on the channel or anything else you want to let us know and where we can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I want to say, first of all, great channel you have. I love watching your movie swaps. They're always super fun, even if I don't get to watch it live. I'm Zach. I run the Zach Attack Reviews channel. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions. I have a Tuesday live show that I do every Tuesday where I cover all movie news and talk about newest releases, box office, and things like that. I do watch alongs on my channel as well and throwback reviews because I am the baby cinephile. So, as you know, I haven't seen a ton of classic films. So, I review old ones. Right now, I'm going through the Lord of the Rings. Reviewed the first one last year. I reviewed Return Two Towers this year, and I'm going to be doing the 4 hour cut of Return of the King this soon. It's just a really long watch, and I review upcoming movies as well. So I'm going to be reviewing A24 Civil War movie pretty soon. So if that sounds interesting to you, come over here and check me out.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to say, I did the Fellowship of the Ring last year. This year I did the Two Towers. So next year I'll do.
Next year, Return of the
Return of the King.
King. I get one a year.
I I will commend you. I've seen the movies, but I've never seen the extended cuts, and I really do not plan to. Three and a half
That was my
hours was
mistake.
enough. Yeah.
I should have committed to the extended cuts. I should have just been like, when I go to do the Hobbits, I'm watching regular cuts. I'm sorry, I can't.
Definitely, the Hobbit movies. I will say this: they're just not as good.
Yeah, that's
They
what I
are
hear.
they are not as good. Um, they're okay, but they're not anywhere near as good. Not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. I like them. I don't love them. But
Yeah,
it is what it is. Patrick says this is a terrific show to listen to on its playlist. Thank you. I appreciate that.
nice.
I would appreciate if everybody just put it on the movie swap playlist and just
Just let them
just let it roll.
give them
Hours
watch
and hours
hours.
of fun. Does Zach have a Black Phillip Funko Pop? Black Phillip from The Witch. Do you have one? I don't know.
No, I didn't even know they had a Black Phillip Funko Pop. I'm gonna Google that
So I
right
don't.
now.
Maybe he's seeing something in your background that he's asking about. I don't know.
I'm trying to think what he think. So he probably think is this, but that's actually Spider-Man Noir. So, oh yeah, that's Spider-Man
That
Noir.
one
So
up
I
there.
don't, I don't think there's,
Okay.
I don't have a Black Phillip Funko Pop, but that would be awesome. Now I want to get one.
Yeah, I don't know if it exists. I can't get into Funko Pops because I spend my money on the movies. I'm like, I don't need another thing to spend movies on.
Yeah.
That's just that would be too much. He said the extended cuts are amazing. I will take your word for it.
As someone who's seen two of the extended cuts, Fellowship of the Ring, I only will watch the extended cut of that because there was nothing in that movie where I felt like needs to be cut.
Okay.
Two Towers, I will never watch that extended cut ever again. It didn't get interesting until an hour in. That's a long time. So yeah.
If you haven't seen this movie, it might seem like an odd question, but have you ever seen Clerks 2?
Yes, but a long time ago.
You may or may not remember, but in that movie, they have the classic Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings argument. Two
Mm.
of the characters, and one of the characters acts out the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Says first movie, and he walks across the floor. The second movie, and he walks across the floor. And then he says third movie, and he walks across the floor, and he like drops a ring and lobs.
Sounds accurate. It's a lot of
Sounds
walking.
accurate. So that's
Walking.
one of the reasons I don't do the extended cuts. I'm like, all right, that's good enough. It's very
Um,
hard to find. Black Phillip is out of print. Okay. So
so it's
if
probably
you
like
want a Black Phillip
$100 million.
Funko, you're gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys know about my channel if you don't know already. Yes, Movie Swap is the centerpiece. I do lots of other things. Movie theater memories I haven't done in a little bit, but I want to get back to that where I just talk about my most memorable experiences going to movie theaters. I've
Mm,
done about 5 or 6 episodes of that, so you can check those out. Um, when I buy something, as far as physical media goes, I show those off, and we'll do other videos where I'm just talking about movies themselves, maybe recommendations, maybe top 10 lists or something like that. I don't do a ton of physical media stuff as far as my channel goes. I
yeah.
like to say it's more about movies than the cases. Um,
Mm,
Not that there's nothing wrong with that because I've watched so many people who talk about physical media.
yeah.
My next movie swap will be on Monday, actually, April 15th. I'm going to have Alan from Pop's Movie Dungeon here, and we're going to chat about two more great movies, or at least one of them I think is great because that's the one I recommend to him. We'll see about the other one.
Nice.
And we're gonna have a good time on Monday night doing that. As far as movie swap future goes, I did say at the beginning I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Right now, just to let you guys a little behind the scenes or inside baseball, whatever term you want to use. I'm in the process of trying to move. So
Mm,
we've got a lot of things happening at home here that we're trying to get ready to move. So I may be able to have a movie swap in May, and that one will probably be with Patrick. But I'm not. I can't commit to it just yet. So we'll see. And that means at some point, May, June, July, hopefully I'll be in a different space and have a little more space for all these movies because I got some movies in boxes too.
nice. I have a new
But
setup.
yep. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you again to Zach for coming on. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did.
Definitely.
And looking forward to either doing it again here or maybe we'll do something on your channel, but that's your call.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely gonna have you on my movie that made you live stream. I'm excited to do that with you.
cool, cool. Just let me know and we'll work it out.
Yeah.
Everybody else, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And that's it. Bye. Have a good night.